Hello and welcome. This is Jenna from McGuire. Today's video is going to focus on a product that's new to me, and that is Clarity Stencil Brushes. Now, I usually don't do videos on a particular product, but instead just techniques and different products that you can use for those techniques. This time I'm doing it the opposite. I'm focusing on a product and some techniques you can do with it because these brushes are so wonderful. They're new to me. I saw my friend Lydia use them. I'll link to a video Lydia did when I was crafting with her once. She was using them and I had to get some. So these are the brushes that come in a pack. Again, these are called Clarity Stencil Brushes. They have a pointed tip. They're super fine bristles that are synthetic, and you can use them with ink or paint, and they're easy to clean. So I'm using them today just with ink to get soft backgrounds. Now, I know there are a million things you can do with these brushes, but I wanted to just show you kind of the exploration that I went through so you can kind of get an idea if these are something that you want to try. I'm using just some dye inks here, but you could try any inks or, as I said, paints with these brushes. I'm just kind of filling the brush up with a lot of ink, and I always like to brush off first onto scrap paper and then lightly brush onto my cardstock. Now, what I'm finding nice about these stencil brushes is that you can do a really light coloring. So you can do like a light fade on the edge of some paper, or you can do like a light area in the center of your card, or any kind of light background. Now, you could make it heavier by continuing or using more ink or having a heavier hand. However, I think when I want heavier color, I'm still going to definitely reach for my Distress ink blending tools. The little sponge tools that you see me use a lot, I don't think these replace those. I think these are just an option for lighter color. So you can see that nice blending that you get, very effortless. I find that you rarely get like marks when you go to blend, like any harsh areas. It just gives you light color. And look at this light color that you can put on the edge of paper. So again, I would not replace my ink blending tools with these, but I'd use them along with them. Okay, so here you can see how you can get like a soft area in the middle of a card. I know some people want to do that sometimes, and it's sometimes tricky with an ink blending tool because that tends to put down more color. You can do that easily with these inking tools. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you kind of my exploration with these brushes and all the cards I created. I did a bunch of them. So I squeeze a lot in here, but I'm hoping it kind of gives you an idea how you can use these stencil brushes, especially for soft backgrounds. So this is the first card that I created ever with the Clarity Stencil Brushes, and you'll see how easy it is to do. I've put down some Nina White cardstock with a Hero Art stencil over it. Now I'm loading up one of the Clarity brushes with some dye ink. Notice that I always wipe off first on some scrap paper just to get any heavy amounts of ink off. And now I'm just lightly going back and forth in the same direction. You see I'm going up and down and getting a light coating of color. Now I'm going to add some more ink to my brush, and I'm going to go in the other direction, side to side. I like to do that to make sure that I kind of ink on all the edges of the stencil so the pattern is nice and kind of crisp. Now I decided that was too light of a background, so I'm going and adding some more color. And check this out. When you take it off, look at that beautiful background that you get with using the stencil brush. So I wanted to use this great die from Concord and Ninth. It die cuts a sentiment, and it also has the separate piece with like these parentheses, these brackets that go around it. Really easy to line up, but I decided just to use the sentiment today. Now what I'm doing with these cards today is I wanted to explore these techniques on the backgrounds. So that was the focus of these cards. So you'll notice all the sentiments and all the things I add to it are very simple because I wanted to focus my time on the techniques and learning how to use these brushes. So here I just die cut that sentiment. Great sentiment, fills the card nicely. Put some craft foam on the back and put some tape on that. And now I'm just gluing it onto a note card. I wanted one little thing to do to that. I wanted to add a shimmery heart. So I die cut a heart. This is from a Hero Arts die. And I put some Wink of Stella on it. Now you can see this one on the left doesn't have glossy accents on top. The one on the right, I put glossy accents on a while ago and I let it dry. And check out how it kind of intensifies the shimmer. It's a great way to kind of create your own simple accents. And I actually have created a bunch of these in black on black hearts with the shimmer and the glossy accents, and I have them on hand for cards. But I wanted to have a pink one that matched the note card. It's kind of a tone-on-tone card. And I'm going to glue this on here. After putting it down, I decided I wanted the heart to be spaced down a little bit, so I just picked it off and I replanted it on my card. Very simple card. That die sentiment is wonderful because I have it kind of, that background popped up. It creates like a shadow behind those letters. I just think that's so much fun. Very simple card, and it keeps kind of the eye on the stenciled background that we created. And check out the shimmer that you see on that heart. I just think that is so beautiful. And you can see how beautiful that stenciling is also. Okay, so now I wanted to do another technique using a stencil, but kind of create an even softer looking background. That's what I did for this card here. I'm starting the same way. I have some white cardstock with another Hero Art stencil on top of it. I'm going back and forth with kind of a peach color ink. This is again a dye ink. I'm just going back and forth very light-handed here. Again, you can put more color down if you want to, but I think if I wanted more color, I'd use an ink blending tool because it takes a lot less effort. So I went in both directions, up and down and back to like side to side. And there we have a very soft background. Now I decided I wanted to add some color to the edges. So you can easily add color to the edges, light color to the edges of white cardstock by going back and forth along the edge and then kind of pulling some of the color in, and look at that soft edge that you get. So I did that to all four sides, and check out that kind of muted background that you get. So this is a great way to give a completely different look to a stencil. This stencil is kind of modern looking, but I kind of softened it by adding that light bit of color. So I decided just to put a basic sentiment on this and nothing else. So I picked this beautiful die from Impression Obsession. It's so intricate that all you need for the card is that. So I die cut it from some black cardstock. I probably should have put some double-sided tape on the back of it before I die cut it, but I didn't think of it. So I'm just putting dots of multi-medium from Ranger on there. That's a matte finish adhesive. Picking it up with my tweezers and kind of planting it right in the middle of my card. Another thing I like to do when creating simple cards like this is to add lots of shimmer. It's a great way to add interest very quickly to the card. And I did that with a lot of today's cards. So after adding all my die cuts, I'm spraying the entire card with some shimmer. Shimmer is from Imagine Crafts. You can get it in a small little bottle or a bigger spray bottle. And I like to spray it over the entire card. So here I'm taking the shimmer spritz. I spray once off to the side to make sure it's spraying nicely. Then I spray it about 6 times from about 2 feet above. You want to be farther up so it's a nice fine mist that lands on your card. Then I like to wave some heat on it with my heat gun to kind of help dry it so that we don't have any warping with the card or any problems. Then I spray it again about 6 times from 2 feet above and wave some heat over it again. Now what you end up getting is a soft, really subtle but gorgeous shimmer to the entire card. Especially when it catches the light, it's just amazing. It is really hard to capture in a video. I can't capture it well at all. Even in a photo, I struggle with it. But there is a lovely shimmer over the whole piece that really makes this card come alive. Now you could leave the card as is, but again, I wanted to add a little extra something special to the sympathy card. So I took glossy accents with my fine tip nozzle and I added a layer of glossy accents over this whole die cut. What I could have done is put a clear embossing powder over the whole die cut, but I have my card assembled, so I am just putting the glossy accents on. If any of the glossy accents kind of fall off the side of my die cut, I just kind of scoop it up with the tip of a needle, and you can end up with a nice, really kind of dimensional die cut with the shimmer underneath and the glossy accents on top. Okay, so now on to the next card, this one here, the rainbow effect. I wanted to show you how easy it is to use these brushes to get a blended effect. Instead of just one color, lots of colors blended together. So what I did is I went side to side and did kind of stripes of color, but each time I overlapped, and I found this to be such an effortless way to get blended color. So you can do blending of any colors you want, or you can do like an ombre look where you start with light at the top and kind of go darker to the bottom. I really found that anything would blend together well because you're overlapping with such a light amount that the blending is really effortless. So you can see how it's going there. Now I'm coming in with green, and then I did some teal on the bottom. You could do this with any type of ink probably, but I chose all dye inks. I used some Hero Arts, Simon Says Stamp, and W+9 and Lawn Fawn inks today. I just grabbed whatever colors I wanted. Now when I peel up the stencil, you'll see the gorgeous color that's left behind. Again, you can make that more intense by adding more color if you want to. Okay, so I just wanted to keep the rest of the card simple. I die cut this awesome die from Neat and Tangled, which is one of my new favorite dies. And I die cut that from black and added it to the panel. And now I'm just stamping a sentiment right above it that says your. And there we have a simple piece to put onto a white note card. And I, of course, sprayed that with some shimmer. Can't see it in the photo, but it really kind of brings that to life in real life. Moving on to the next card, I wanted to show you another way to use stencils with these brushes. So I told you I did a lot of cards this day. Okay, so instead of using the stencil and brushing over it, I'm going to emboss with the stencil. So I'm setting up my die cut machine how I normally do for embossing folders, and that's tab 1 with my Big Shot multi-purpose platform. You could do this with any die cut machine. I have this pad for embossing from Spellbind Binders, that tan pad, putting that down first on top of my cutting plate, putting some white cardstock on top of that, and putting my stencil over it. And then I'll put the cutting plate on top. What this will do is press that pattern into the cardstock. So you need that foam, that tan foam piece to do this. Or you can try it with craft foam or a piece of felt. I've had luck doing that also if you don't have this piece. I'm going to run it through my die cut machine as I normally do, and it presses that stencil pattern into the cardstock. You can see it there in the light. Now all I'm going to do here is do a light hand of some teal dye ink over the paper. And because that paper has that texture to it, it kind of holds some of that color on the raised areas. And look at that beautiful soft background you get. So I'm not using a stencil here. I use the stencil to emboss that pattern on top. Now I went ahead and die cut that sentiment, the same one. And I'm putting some ink over that too, so that some of the ink kind of gets into the edges of that die cut sentiment and makes them kind of stand out even more. This makes a huge difference. When you take this stencil with ink along the edge of any paper, it darkens there and really kind of creates a nice popping effect. It's hard to describe, but you can see the color on the inside edges of those letters really makes a big difference. So you can use your stencils to emboss and then use the brushes on top. Here's another card. This one is for an ombre kind of look. Very easy to achieve. I have a Hero Art stencil over white cardstock, and I'm just taking one color. This is like a peach color, and I'm doing a soft glow of color over the whole piece. And then I'm going back with like a circular motion in the inside and adding more and more color. You can add as much as you want so that it's darker in the center there. And I kind of get an ombre look from the outside in to the center of that card. I again used that same sentiment die, I tell you I love that die, and added that to a card, kept it very simple. Okay, now for this one, I decided to kind of layer up colors with a pattern of a stencil. This is really a fun way to get a completely different look out of a stencil. Again, I'm starting with a Hero Arts stencil on top of some white cardstock, and I'm putting a light layer of a green ink over this. Now, once I've put an even coloring over the whole stencil, I'm going to take it and shift it as much as I want. You can create any kind of pattern you want here. I'm going to shift it over slightly, and then I'm going to put another color on it. So I'm kind of creating my own pattern out of the background. This is really fun to do with any kind of geometric stencil where there's maybe a star print or any kind of pattern that's repeated. You just ink it up, then shift it and ink it again with a different color, and you get a completely different look. So there I have two colors. I'm going to go ahead and do it a third time with another color. Now this is a dark, vibrant blue ink that I'm using here. It's called Fish Tank. Now this ink, I'm putting it on very light. So you can even use dark colors and put it on lightly. Just be sure to brush your ink off a little bit onto scrap paper first. And check out all those colors layered together. One thing I really like to use these brushes for is just to add some soft color right on the edges of the cardstock when I'm finished. It really makes a big difference to kind of make it pop. And here's the finished card. I put some black cardstock behind the letters and then put it onto a square note card. Now here's a completely different card. This one uses a die cut instead of a stencil. So you can use your die cuts, just create some masking, create your own stencils, anything you want. I have this beautiful butterfly die, and I have die cut it from some Inkadinkado masking paper. So this has a sticky back to it so that it temporarily will stick down on your paper. You could do this from a Post-it note if you wanted to. I'm putting it kind of down on the bottom left of a piece of white cardstock. I'm just going to place it there. And then we're going to add ink with a stencil brush over this, and we can get like a soft cloud around it. Now, when I switch colors with a stencil brush, I just brush it off kind of on a cloth. You could wash it if you wanted to, but I didn't want to have a wet brush. I basically have one stencil for each color family. I have like a pink, orange, a yellow, a blue, and a green. And I just kind of wipe them off if I'm switching from a light blue to a dark blue or vice versa. So here you can see I'm just going with a light hand over the entire piece with kind of a teal blue color. Then I'm going to go back and add more concentrated color around the butterfly, so it's kind of darker in that area. I like to kind of go in a circular motion and then kind of pull color from the outside or the inside out just to make it really pop there. So now we can remove the stencil and look at that beautiful soft background you get. So now I'm just going to add a black die cut to this. This one's from Avery L. I kind of like how it stretches across a card, so I'm going to glue that down and add that onto a black note card. I did give this a good spray with that shimmer. You can see the shimmer on this card actually. I did the entire card with the shimmer, and it really kind of makes this card come to life also. Just think of all the dies that you have that you can create masks from so that you can do this soft stencil brushing over top. Here's another example. I had this beautiful With Deepest Sympathy die that I've been wanting to use, but I wanted something soft, and I really never knew how to achieve that until this technique. So I again have die cut this from some Inka Dinka Doo masking paper. So basically it just has temporary adhesive on the back, so you can put it down onto your paper. So I put that on the center of a piece of white cardstock, and I'm using some Scotch Post-it tape. This has just, again, some temporary adhesive on the back. And I'm going to mask off the outside edges of this so that I can stencil brush over the whole thing. I'm starting by just going back and forth in the center with some green ink. I want to have kind of green in the center of this and like a teal around the edges. So I did the green in the center first, and now I'm going back and forth on all four sides with the teal ink. And you can see how you can blend those two colors together. Now you could keep going if you wanted to, but I wanted to keep this very soft. And look at that mask. Even the mask itself is beautiful. You could leave that on a card as is, or use it on a card and get two cards at once. But I'm going to go ahead and peel off my masking tape around the edge, then the mask from the center, and look at the beautiful one layer soft image that you get there in the center. I went ahead and added this onto a teal colored note card, and I'm adding some very simple enamel dots. These have some shimmer in them that are just beautiful. They're from Your Next Stamp. I'm adding a few of these kind of as flowers on the vines in this image. I did give this a spray with that shimmer mist again, the entire card, and you can kind of see it there on the ink. Very soft and a perfect way to use that beautiful die. So there you have it, a bunch of cards using the Clarity Stencil Brushes. It's kind of a different video for me. I just wanted to show you how I kind of explored using these. There are many other ways to use them, and again, you can clean these brushes so that you can use them with all types of inks. Now, if you are interested in seeing more, I have all the photos of these cards over on my blog, and I also will have a giveaway. You can get to my blog by clicking up here on the top left. All the supplies are linked below or over on my blog. In the middle are 3 other videos that might be of interest to you. They also use stencils, but in very different ways. The first one uses it with markers, the middle one layers stencils, and the last one uses ink blending tools. So be sure to check those out. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you again very soon for another video.